Okay, and how are you doing, fellow zombies? Are we emotionally screwed up and sleep deprived just yet? It's 11:40 at night Pacific Standard Time. The countdown continues until Mother's Day. Date right now is May 13th, 2023. This is the Weaver John C. from Rosamond, California. We may or may not do the diary, but we are sure as hell going to be talking politics tonight. Okay. Couldn't sleep, so I had to peruse. And when I perused on some of the social medias, you know, it's bad enough I'm seeing repeat articles about a U.S. senator seems to be thinking that racism should be nationalized and should be celebrated for those who worshiping it should be worshipped as U.S. citizens. Fuck. There's a certain Tennessee senator out there needs to get a re-education going through his head. There's a governor out there in Florida, we still love to get him put through re-education as well. How about just put him in a straitjacket and throw him in a padded cell and forget about the guy? No, this one's got to be pissing me off because I get this one locked in. Hasn't been picked up by the progressive media, but I got this one on the feeds already. And Newsweek was pulling up an article for this weekend that there's a certain pastor, blast this guy's name out like crazy. Okay, where's the mild characterization of Reverend Sam J. Reed Moonshine? This is pro-Trump pastor Mark Burns. Have you been in with the maggots long enough, you recognize this guy's fiery speech that he proclaims Trump basically a god at this point. And he is going to tell people that they need to take the country back by force because the Bible tells them to. I shit you not on this one. I shit you not on this one. There is a section that he's quoting from Matthew chapter 5, verse 38 through 40. Now, I got a problem with this one. I got a problem with this one here because it don't say that. What he was trying to say, and the news clipping in itself. Okay, what has been quoted, you've got to get to the point where you realize that when they smack you in the face, you smack them back 2 times harder, Burns said. Quoting Matthew 5, chapter 5, verse 38 through 40, which reads, if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. He also did say that and I'm quoting it from the Newsweek article, and the pastor that suggested violence, as he noted that the Bible says, violent, take it, and we take it by force, in reference to Matthew 11, chapter 11, verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violence taken by force. What this asshole kept forgetting is when he was quoting about chapter 5, he left out, if we're going to be pinning this poor schmuck, this was Sermon of the Mount. Now Jesus was going on to the Mount to talk to the people. And he was going to preach what he knew. Not just what the Pharisees had been filtering into their brainstems, but what was coming from God. And there's a lot of stuff in there concerning about turning the other cheek, love your neighbor, but also love your enemies, do good. Okay, in the section that he was talking about, I was also talking about John the Baptist somewhere in the Matthew chapter concerning about what he was referring to. I'm trying to get that section there. The section would say something about, oh, that's not the right one I wanted. That's not the right one I wanted in the first place. Okay. So concerning about the chapter at this point, 5, 30, 38 through 40, okay? Okay, we get in there. I gotta get my glasses washed. Okay. So, that's 11, 85. 85. So looking at 11. Okay, here we go. I was wondering how come things were so screwed up in that one. Okay. Now, here's going to be a larger portion of it, so forgive me if I go crazy on this one. Okay. 31. No, that's not one. Okay, we'll start at 34. Chapter 5, Matthew, verse 34 through the rest of it. Okay, but I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. 35. Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool. Neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. 36. Neither shall thou swell by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. I'm going to. Okay, I've got thoughts on that one there. Okay, number 37. But let your communication be, yea, yea, nay, nay, for whoever is more than these cometh of evil. 38. You have heard it, you've heard it being said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. 39. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. 40. And if a man will sue thee in the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak as well. 41. And whoever shall compel thee to go to a mile, go with him twain. 42. Go to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. 43. You have heard it have been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despisefully use you and persecute you. 45. That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to shine on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. 46. For if you love them which love you, which reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? 47. And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? 48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father is in heaven is perfect. Confusing as it is, but I don't get it where you say that you have to go against the other schmuck. And this is what they were saying between Matthew 5, 38 to 40, what so-called Pastor Burns has been saying. So he wants violence to be taken by force. He's also referring to Matthew 11, verse 12. So, by the way, I'm reading off of BibleGateway.com, the King James Version. Just to let you know what's going on. Okay, now, chapter 11, verse 12. Now, I'm going to have to read a lot of this, so bear with me. Okay, chapter 11, verse 1. And it came to pass when Jesus had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed hence to teach and to preach in their cities. 2. Now when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he had sent 2 of his disciples. 3. And said unto him, Art thou he that should come, or do we look for another? 4. Jesus answered and said unto him, Go and shew John again those things which ye do hear and see. 5. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. The lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. 6. And blessed is he, whoever shall not be offended in me. 7. As they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, What went ye out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? 8. But what went ye out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in the king's houses. 9. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. 10. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. 11. Verily I say unto you, among them are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he is least in the kingdom of heaven, is greater than he. 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. 13. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. 14. And if you will receive it, this is Elias, was for to come. 15. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. 16. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets and calling unto their fellows. 17. And saying, We have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. We have mourned unto you, and ye have not lamentated. I don't know how that feels. 18. For John came neither eating or drinking, and they said, He hath a devil. 19. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold a man gluttonous, and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children. 20. And then began he to upbraid the cities where most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. And there's a lot of things regarding this. One of them I like to deal with, and I have to keep remembering this one. I have to be reminded of this one. Still Matthew 11, 28 through 30. I'm just going to read it without doing the numbers on this one. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and lean on me, or learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light. If you got a lot of crap on your shoulders and you want to get rid of it, he's right there for you. See, that gives me a bit of peace of mind, a peace of soul a little bit. Despite the fact that I'm still going through a hell of a lot of grieving processes, there have been some times I could use a break from the damn thing, especially when I get triggered, and I go through a hell of a lot of depression, I swear. Dealing with pastors who are just hell-bent on scaring the living crap out of people and forcing people to do their bidding. It's like somewhere in the Bible we're also taught to watch out for these assholes who act like preachers or are soothsayers. They're the ones being the prophets out there, and we have to watch out for the false prophets because they're going to be screwing around with us. How do we know it? Because we're not saying what Christ and God was saying to us in the first place. And if you guys were following the Beatitudes of Matthew, there was at one time a pastor I still had a hell of a lot of respect for. Despite controversies, I've been with him later on in life. But I had respect for him and his teachings and his teacher. One of his appeals, the teacher, but I was talking about Robert Harold Schuller, former minister of the Hour of Power. And I'd watched this guy, and I'd listened to him, and he was getting into the Bible in certain areas. And Beatitudes was one of the books that I held on to like crazy for a hell of a long while until I got rid of the damn thing. Stupidity reasons. There was a lot of books I got rid of. But this book is trying to give me some peace of mind during the troubled times that I really needed it the most. He was trying to convey it into the general public sense, how they could perceive it and understand. And listening and being exposed to that kind of teachings and education of the Bible and of the Word of God, so to speak. And I'm no preacher. I am no guru of any kind. Something like this really pissed me off that I had to talk about this. I really had to talk about this one because why would you have a pastor of God try to rally the people to do a forcing others to do their will, especially when dealing with politics? Now, there's also other, I don't know what the hell they call them, wolves, scam artists, theoretical prophets or theoretical ministers. I've seen some of these assholes in the 80s and 90s trying to scam people left and right and getting their asses raped in the process. These guys are dealing with it like crazy. They're saying it in the name of God. It's almost bad enough I kept reading about what Jesus was trying to overrule and overcome the Pharisees. In the Older Testament, they talked about an eye for an eye. They talked about revenge. They talked about payback's a bitch, basically. Karma will get your ass. They didn't say it exactly in there about karma, but it was the same sense. That whatever you did to the other schmuck, karma's going to be coming back to bite you in the ass. But to use that constantly to make change in people's attitudes and thoughts and feelings about what they should or shouldn't believe in. I mean, you're talking about being cultists left and right. And Burns is definitely a cultist at this point. To tear apart the Bible like that and reverse engineer the thing, all because he's hell-bent with his ego. I'm surprised he dances around with it in his head all the time. Is he following God's plan on this one? Did God actually want an overthrow? Oh, he's bad enough he's wearing the orange gas bag at number 45, wanting the economy to collapse and everywhere. It's bad enough I'm hearing state elected officials and senators and representatives in the House of Congress, both chambers, still can't get off their dead asses of finding solutions to keep us from getting killed left and right. I was coming across, and I couldn't even believe when I heard this one, that Alabama, I think, one of the rent-controlled states was trying to come home, or Texas, I think, coming up with an idea of having kids to be trauma surgeons, or EMTs. Basically, if you can't do any, actually Texas is one. Yeah, politicians in there, the representatives are trying to get bills passed where kids are going to be the first aid monitors. When they get a school shooting, they're going to be out there doing the first aid. They're not getting rid of the guns. They think it's it's impossible. It's impossible to get rid of the guns. We can't do that. We have to mitigate the damage. We have to mitigate the damage. Okay. So I'm going to take a sledgehammer somewhere right here. And I'm going to beat the hell out of my head. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get rid of the damn headache. Now, in this process, the sledgehammer is still going to be smashing my skull and my brain to itty-bitty pieces. And if my brain is still functioning enough, it'll either detect that I've already got rid of the damn pain or got my body to a point where I can't deal with pain any longer. And it simply ceases to exist. It dies. But I did smash my head with a sledgehammer to get rid of the damn pain in the head. Instead of pulling out a bottle or having my head examined by doctors, a bottle of pain medications, get rid of a simple headache. But no, the simplest way to get rid of a headache is take a sledgehammer and kill yourself. That way, you don't have to worry about anything. You just take the sledgehammer and keep going. And then after that, your head. Next sucker in line, please. Ah, I see you are the next sucker in line. Okay. You, sir, will be condemned because you are too much of a leftist. You're thinking too much. Your imagination's too much. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're not part of us. You're one of them. You can't be them. You have to be part of us. And if you can't be part of us, then what the hell are you doing here in the first place? Oh, you say you live here. You exist here. No, you don't. I own everything you have now. Oh, I say so. For those who are dealing with this on a constant basis, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with charlatans, scam artists, con artists, and they're coming out of the woodworks left and right. They are conning our country like crazy. They're conning people left and right. They're practically brainwashing them into a massive cult. That's what they're doing. I am running into a pastor. He's supposed to be a man of God. I'm wondering if he's related to Westboro Baptist community there. If he is, fall in line with him. They're the ones going after people left and right who are different, strange, and none of us. They're them. And so we have to have the con artists really beat up people left and right. And here's the thing concerning about these con artists. They don't want to take the action specifically. They want you to take the action. They want you to be so confused at this point over here, you're going to do everything they say. And they'll put the fear of God or fear of whatever the hell it is right into you. And they'll convince you so damn badly that you're going to have to do it. Because you're forced into the situation. You have no control. You have no will. You belong to us. Kind of reminds me of the movie called Tron. Disney did this one back in, I think, 81, 82. Killer movie. You had the Master Control program. You're supposed to be controlling a lot of programs, but somehow in the program, and the ego of the programmer got fed into this, where he wanted more and more and more, and outgrew his originator. And it had to be stopped by the hero program called Tron. Well, there's a lot more to the story, but what I was trying to get into here is this. The entity, whatever it may be, or whatever form it takes, wants anything and everything. It is a cosmic, it is a black hole of sorts that sucks in everything. There is nothing to fill it or fulfill it. But it will use you. It will use you to do its bidding. We're going to be doing, if we're going to be also comparing to mortal cult leaders and status assholes like that. We've got a lot of them. David Koresh, Waco, Texas. That's one asshole I'm going to say something about. Religious followers willing to sacrifice and kill themselves. How about Jim Jones out in Guyana? Guyana. His people ends up murdering Congress people who came out there for an investigation. Very few people survived. The ones who actually came down there and found out what the hell was going on and flew back. But they saw this Jim Jones character so vast himself with followers and everything else going into him that he became bloated. Now, I am not like this guy. Genetics, overeating, stress. There's a lot of excuses I could use at this point. But I'm not going out there to use people left and right. That's not my style, and I am sure as hell I'm going to do that. So, here we go. You have your bully. He needs power. In order for him to get power, he needs to thump your head until you agree to follow him. Then he's going to get more people thumped on. And then he's going to have those people thump on others, and thump on others, and thump on others. Here goes the pyramid. Thump, 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 thump. Then you got your power base going on. He's the one calling the shots, but the guys in between are doing all the action. That's what we're dealing with right now. I'm seeing a pastor who goes against God's teachings all the time because his apex is who he's really worshiping at this point. And somewhere in the Bible, didn't it ever say that we're not supposed to be worshiping two things? God's supposed to be getting everything? I mean, you render unto Caesar, which is Caesar, but you also render unto God, which is God. Paraphrase. Meaning that Caesar is human and human law. It's the U.S. Constitution at this point over here. We swore an oath to the damn thing to defend and protect the damn paperwork. But not the paperwork, it's the idealism of this country, the United States of America. What we were raised and what we were trained to be raised in. The problem is, Caesar is having a major malfunction. And God is getting misquoted left and right. Now, we don't even know which God we're dealing with anymore. It's not that we're dealing with back to the era of the Egyptians versus the Israelites. There are stories before that happened that brought the Israelites into the land of Canaan. Actually, into the land of Egypt for protection. The story of Joseph and his many coats, and in the story, in his misadventures, in his interpretation of dreams, putting him into a position of power to protect his people from starvation, because there was going to be a famine hitting like crazy. You have several years of preparing for this damn thing, and after that, several more years, and it's going to be kicking your ass. But somehow they stayed in Egypt longer than that. Because then we have the story of Moses kicking in with the Exodus. See, that's the thing that always gets people left and right. When they have the Ten Commandments right there, they never remember the full damn story before, during, and afterwards. Now, I remember portions of it growing up as a kid. And also watching movies, TV movies on the television every so often. So, a little basis of information here. So I try to be grounded a bit. Now, everyone's got their own thing of dealing with their belief and faith in something beyond themselves. And even if they don't, they probably have an inner sense of what the universe may or may not be. They may not believe in a deity, Maybe they believe in a force, a power, a something beyond their own. Atheists usually have a problem with that, so do the agnostics. Yeah, that's on them. But eventually, all roads lead upstairs. I had been trying to talk about this thing when I was growing up as a kid. I've been talking about this on the videos a lot. I didn't have religious upbringing when I was a young kid. 4 years old, open heart surgery. I died 3 times, came back to life 3 times. And during those times I was going upstairs. That's my religious indoctrination of the spiritual realm, of something beyond. It is beyond the physical senses that our brain cannot function or understand. It cannot function this way. It has to have the information inputted into its organ, into the squishy organ, one way or another. Even it has to be memories, it's something. Now, for us, we still deal with 5 senses. And we use our 5 senses to deal with the world all the time. Our brain constantly processes all the data and information. So that's a scientific method I can look at. What I can't understand, what I can't deal with, and what I cannot figure out scientifically is how force of will is going to change a government system, especially when we have a setup that it's not supposed to be that way in the first place. We're not supposed to have religion ruling politics. That's what happened back in England. That's what also happened when you have the Catholic Church ruling a lot of royalties out there in different countries in Europe. And they had been. See, people keep forgetting what history's all about and don't even bother to listen to it because they think it's woke. Well, screw the woke bullshit. It's real, it happened. The things are happening these days. But it's also forming the basis concerning about hatred towards other people because what was being perceived during those days. What I can't understand is how a learned, supposed learned academia in the scholastic, actually in the theological, can come up with an idea that we must use force in the name of Christ, in the name of God, to do our bidding and our will. Christ was telling us the other way around. I don't get it. I think he's stupid. And I'm calling him on it. It's not the lack of education or maybe other academia credentials he's got. He hadn't got the damn sense in his head. And he sure as hell don't do the Bible. If he knows the Bible, that's one thing. I mean, quote it out like crazy. Okay, fine, you quote it out like crazy. Like every other damn false prophet out there. But do you have it in here? You have certain ideas and certain stories that matter a great deal, that you've emulated, that you demonstrated. But going on the attack, attacking people left and right for the damn shit. Come on. That's a hypocrite right there. And I know I could be a hypocrite too. I could be hypocritical just like everybody else. And I have been. On a lot of occasions. Some of those occasions I just haven't been able to mention if I have. I've already forgotten about them. Even to screw things up left and right. Okay, enough of that. We'll pick the political a little bit later. Right now my body's telling me, time, sleep.